Hello, my name is Michael Bell, and I'm going to read a story for you. It's called The Moon Over Star. Now, some of you may know that the first African American female astronaut was Mae Jemison. Well, this story is about a young girl named Mae. And it starts, once upon a summer's morning in 1969, Grandpa led the singing in church, the light of Sunday gleaming on his silvery head. Through the open windows our voices sailed. Over Star, the name of our town, when we bowed our heads and prayed for the astronauts, Neil Armstrong, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Michael Collins. If all went well, a spaceship would land on the moon today, and I dreamed that maybe one day I would go to the moon too. My Gramps thought the space program was a waste of money, but I knew he was praying for them too. I thought about the astronauts' kids and wondered if they were scared. Scared, but probably proud. I know I'd be. I slipped my hand into my dad's hand and whispered so that only I could hear, God, please bless the astronauts' children too. Once upon a summer's noon, my cousins and I scouted Grand's watermelon patch for the biggest one. It took 3 of us to carry it to a tub of ice. Well, 3.5 if you count my little cousin Lacey. We decorated the picnic table with pails of wildflowers. And then our chores were done. We built our own spaceship from scraps we found in the barn. T minus 15 seconds, 12, 11, 10, 9. As the oldest grandchild, I got to be the launch controller and also Commander Armstrong. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have liftoff. We all closed our eyes, imagining with all our might the rumble, the roar, and the force of the Saturn rocket, blasting the spaceship into the stars. Then we were rushing through space at 25,000 miles an hour. I wonder how many miles to the moon, Cousin Carrie said. Well, I'd been reading the moon stories in the paper, so I knew. Oh, it's about 240,000 miles, I said, and some scientists say the moon is moving farther away from us, about an inch every year. I also knew that in May 1961, a month before I was born, President John F. Kennedy had said America would send men to the moon before the end of the decade. And now that President Kennedy was in heaven, I wondered if he could see the astronauts. Was he smiling to know his dream was about to come true? That afternoon, we were helping Gramps with the tractor when Gran hollered, "Come quick, they're landing!" Gramps kept on tinkering with the engine. The rest of us ran right into the house and squirmed around the television screen as it glowed with equal parts of the moon and the spaceship called Eagle. We heard the voice of Commander Armstrong directing the landing. Forward, forward, he said. Then the newsmen we all knew, Walter Cronkite, exclaimed, "Man on the moon!" For a split second, we were silent. The whole universe must have been. And we waited and waited and waited to hear the voice of an astronaut 240,000 miles away. And then, "Houston, Tranquility Base here," Commander Armstrong said. "The Eagle has landed." Boy, did we all cheer. All the cousins, even the grown-ups, all except for Gramps. I remember something he'd said once. Why spend all that money going to the moon when there are people right here on Earth that need help? Because we can, I almost said. but I caught myself. I began to wonder then, what was Gramps' dreams? What was it like when he was little? He had worked on the farm, doing the same job day to day from season to season. When the crickets began to sing, Gramps took out his pipe. I pulled off his dirt-caked boots and stomped around the porch with him. Gramps, will you watch it with me tonight? Will you watch the moon walk? Well, I'm mighty worn out today, he said, but maybe. Suddenly, I could see how tired he was. A lifetime of being tired. There were deep lines in his face, a farmer's face, an old farmer's face. All right, Gramps, I said, it's okay. Once upon a summer's night in 1969, we spread blankets and folding chairs on the edge of the yard, where the buffalo grass grew thick and soft, and the cornstalks whispered while we were gazing at the pearly white slice of moon, and the stars gleamed like spilled sugar. What were the astronauts seeing right this very second? Could they see beyond the moon? Maybe to Mars, or Neptune, or Jupiter? We passed around a bowl of popcorn. What I could see above me and what I could see in my imagination were way better than any picture show. Later on in that summer's night in 1969, the television screen flashed with the words that gave me goosebumps. Live from the surface of the moon. And Mr. Cronkite said, Neil Armstrong, 38-year-old American, standing on the surface of the moon on this July 20th, 1969 day. I didn't know it then, but there were 600 million people around the world watching with me and listening when Commander Armstrong said, that's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. And all of us, from New York to Tokyo to Paris to Cairo, to even my small town, Star, and maybe even President Kennedy too, all of us watch it together. The astronauts bounded across the moon like ghosts on a trampoline. I felt a hand on my shoulder. Gramps said quietly, well, I reckon that's something to remember. Later, when it was quiet and the world ever gets to see this, Gramps and I stood under the moon. What's mankind? I asked him. He puffed on his pipe. Well, it's all of us, he said. All of us who've ever lived, all of us up until now. I put my hand on his. Just think, Gramps. One of these days, maybe I will get to go to the moon too. Wow, great days, he said, an astronaut in the family. Who'd have thought? I smiled in the dark. My Gramps was proud of me. First airplane I ever saw, I was your age. I was right over there yonder, Gramps said, nodding towards the cornfield. That was something to see. Oh boy, something to see. A sigh in Grandpa's voice that made my heart squeeze. Keep on dreaming, May, he said. Just remember, we're here together now on the prettiest star in the heavens. Gramps looked up at the moon all of his life. It told him when to plant and when to harvest. And one summer night, it told me to dream. The end.